Well, and also 603 CMR.
Right, I have those also.
And also you have that ruling that the lawyer from the Department of Ed has, saying that basically we're asking that the budget that was sent to the towns certified by our treasurer be read as the town, as the school number, because it has to be put forth to the authority body, which is actually the town meeting. And it doesn't, you can act on it any way you want, but it needs to be read as the school committee budget, because that's the only way that the town and the taxpayers would actually know.
Well, the town, I was at the meeting yesterday, the town of Phillipston has addressed that in 3 articles, the same as the town of Templeton. That was 3 articles. My understanding in looking at the warrant was those 3 articles were submitted by the school board.
No, they were not. We sent one certified letter, which is how you got the numbers. So to say you didn't get the letter, I don't know where the letter is here, I can give you a copy of it. But when you read the regs say that you need to present on town floor the dollar amount that the school committee certified and sent to you. It doesn't say you split it into 3 articles. It clearly says that you need to vote up or down. It's up or down, you can vote it down, but you need to present that number so that the people in the audience know what was requested. That's a judgment that I believe town council will have to end up making. I'm not going to sit here and try to end up cutting that number up and discussing it. I'd like to take and move on to the town's portion of the budget. We're talking about the green sheet, and I'd like to end up getting on to that if I could.
Yeah, can just comment?
Yes.
Just a real quick comment. I think what the point of this is that the budget, in order for the town, and everyone can vote no, that's fine. I mean, that's your right. In order for the town to be providing a budget to the school district, it has to be, for them to agree, it has to be the number that was provided by the school, certified by the school committee. So I think what Ruth is getting at is that, superintendent is getting at, is that if the lower amount is used and that's presented to the town and the town vote yes to that, that is in essence a no vote, because the school committee's, the town is voting on a number that is not the school committee's number. So if we present that number to the town and say, this is the figure that you can vote on, they can, as the lower number, even if that passes, it doesn't matter that it passed, because that will not be the figure that the town is providing, because that's not it's not the amount that the school committee is certified, in which case we'll have a no vote and we'll have to go back to the drawing board, which is fine.
And the people won't understand that they actually didn't vote for the school's budget. That's the problem.
Will?
I'd like to respond to what you said. So you said the advisory board last week held pre-town meetings.
I'm sorry.
We held pre-town meeting. That wasn't to make our own articles. That was to vote on the articles that were presented from the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen set the warrant. The advisory board voted on the articles as submitted by the selectmen. There were 3 articles for the school budget, and that's what we dealt with. I think that Ms. Miller's argument would be with the Board of Selectmen, not with the advisory board.
All right. And I wasn't placing fault on anyone. It's a joint meeting, so as a selectman, I'm saying that I think that, just to make it clear, that if the figure that is presented is that reduced amount, that is misleading to the town's people.
I don't see how we could change that at this meeting.
Well, the motion, as when it's read, we can put in whatever figure we want.
Yeah. I think, Jeff, can you verify that we received a letter
from Ruth Miller with 4 articles attached to it? It came from your office. It may have been your secretary.
It might have been the wrong one, because I don't know. No, but I mean, I think you're talking about
there were 4 articles attached.
Right.
One was for the repair of Baldwinville School and Templeton Center School.
Okay.
To provide the town to provide a sum of money. The board heard that in discussion and decided to not put it on. There was another article for school feasibility money, if you may remember, that had to do with the Templeton Center School and feasibility money. And in the context of the elementary school building committee and discussions, we decided to not put that on because there's enough money already appropriated for that. There were 2 others. One was in the amount that's actually in the selectmen's warrant of $4,460,000, whatever. And the other one was an override question of, and it was more a ballot question. It was in the form of a ballot question. That's the one that went off to the town clerk. And I am the one who put the ballot question override into the town warrant, thinking it needs to be in the town warrant because it has to pass both at the ballot box and at town meeting.
You'll have to show me that, because that seems like last year's, not this year's.
Understood. Maybe that's the case, except the amount of 4,460 is this year's amount.
I wasn't in the office today, but I'll look, because I know the treasurer was out yesterday to get that. She sends you a certified amount of the budget.
5.1.
You want me to get it?
I have that.
Right, that is
That's the
that's
certified
the
amount.
certified amount from, the warrant articles are done before the school committee actually ends up certifying. Those
Yeah.
original ones had nothing, it's the one that comes from the certified that shows both the town of Templeton and Phillipston on it, that need to be used for the budget process.
Julie?
I believe in the past, if you look at any annual report, you will find the way we've voted the school budget and the process that was used. And I believe it's a number of articles. It's not just one article. That precedent has already been set. And I have it on authority from two people who were at the Phillipston town meeting that they had 3 articles.
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's the legal way to do it.
I agree, but the precedent has already been set.
People are used to it.
For a number of years. So I don't
Right.
think it makes it illegal either.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not going to.
no, that's okay. All I was asking is that, so the town knows the accurate number, if it could be read. And now I'm hearing that you're saying you're not going to put the accurate number. Correct.
Okay, if we can move on, please. Looking at the green sheet, bottom line numbers. FY13 budget number. This is also, you can end up going right into the the actual town report last year and see this number. $4,627,448. The department request for this year for $5,069,136. The selectmen who voted this sometime back voted a budget of level funded $4,606,867. The advisory board, which they voted on after going through the budget reviews, $4,575,838. And as I read out earlier today, each of those numbers, the selectmen was a little over 20,000 less than last year, and the advisory board was $51,000 less. The proposal that we have, and this is just one proposal, since we need an 11,900 and, I want to make the correct number here. 972? Yeah, 972 is what we need. If we make the adjustment to the cemetery department and they forego getting tractors for this year, we will have a balanced budget for with our numbers going into the expenditure sheet. We will make that correction to the green sheet, from the green sheet onto our expenditure numbers, and we will have a balanced budget for this year. This does not have any stabilization money in it, nor any free cash. Yes.
It's my understanding that we level funded ours. You said that that you actually had a couple of people that came in under their funding last year.
correct.
I think those are the things that are important for us to get, so we can change those.
Right.
We're not gonna give people more than what they ask for.
Right, that's what the board felt, is that level fund, we, in essence, we agreed with the Board of Selectmen, except when they end up coming, asking for less money, or they provided us, after talking with them, with less money in their budget.
Yeah.
Yes?
Well, I think there also, we've had a couple of cases where we looked at how expenditures were growing, and the expenditures were well behind the budget amount.
Budget back.
And so we were looking for additional cuts. And so we, you know, if they had only spent 35% of their budget, with 65% of the year.
The only problem with that is that some departments actually spend the bulk of their money all at one time to buy supplies for, you know.
Well, we looked at that, office supplies, and one of the things that we had gotten from the coordinator was that office supplies would be about 75% of what we had. So we took that into consideration when we ended up doing the office supply cuts.
I'm talking more about like the highway department.
No, we did not cut anything in the highway department. We level funded across the board.
Okay.
Well,
Yes,
we have a question.
yes,
On line item 145,
145?
Fire Department EMS Division Expense. The
Let me
proposed-
just get the 145 if you don't mind.
Nope. All day.
Okay. What would your question be?
The $20,000?
That's correct.
Yeah.
What you have on the sheet here that we presented was that we put in $160,000 from the ambulance receipts that would fund that in addition to the 20.
Has that been certified by the
That's
people? Doesn't the town have to vote that?
The town has to vote that, yes.
Yes,
It was voted.
There's
Right.
an article for it?
there's an article for that.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
we're good then.
So that would end up giving the EMS department $180,000, which is a $5,000 increase over last year.
However, we do need to be prepared if the floor were to vote that down,
Right,
160.
Then you don't have an ambulance service.
Well, what you
Exactly.
do is explain to them what why you
Oh,
need
if you
it.
So
explain it.
somebody needs to get up on town floor and talk about that, that's.
Yeah.
That's the
Also, oh, excuse me, Will, may I?
yes, go ahead.
It Also to be noted that what we've been talking about, the expenditures versus the revenue, both of us have included $128,000 for the 2 new full-time firefighters.
Right.
Yes, I saw that in
Right.
there.
Yeah. One of the things when we did put it on is that the chief has an article for $95,000
Right.
plus dollars. While when we put it on the expenditure sheet, we fully loaded that with benefits and retirement, so that we actually, so we could present it as, this is really what it's
This is
gonna
the real
cost for
number. Yeah.
those people. And we also gotta remember that in supporting this, they will end up, because they have changed their ambulance fees, will be generating more money. And hopefully, the hope is that, at least from the advisory standpoint, is that we ended up supporting this particular article in the anticipation that they would end up bringing the revenues that would support that particular EMS. And you would also have the fact that they would end up being full-time firemen during the day, which we have a problem here, just recently. A lot of our people that would be around during the day that have gone back to work, and we're relying upon call folks, and that's, in this day and age, we don't have a lot of call folks that work in town.
Not anymore. Is this gonna be all explained on town floor by somebody?
I would hope that we had all that
Otherwise,
discussion.
people aren't
That
gonna
could probably
understand
come
all
out.
He'll
this.
Give you
explain
a
why they
recommendation.
support it. He'll
Yes, Sue.
explain why you need it.
Can we open a few windows in here?
That's a great idea. He'll move.
Yes.
He'll move.
Hands Thank you.
Are you a young girl?
Well, the next thing you're gonna want it to is air conditioning, right, back there?
No, just fresh air is fine with me.
Okay. So, I mean, I make that as a proposal, and we could end up looking at other areas to get it, but I feel really reluctant to go back and take monies from expenditures from police, highway, and other departments when all we're talking is about, we're actually looking at not replacing new equipment that's only 1 year old. I mean, I had an extensive conversation with the cemetery department foreman today about this particular subject. And we did, as an advisory board, talk to him about that.
Was there a motion to do that? Are you going to pull your vote?
Yes, I will pull. I'm looking for a motion on that from,
I move that the board consider reducing line 244, cemetery parks department expenses, from $46,000 to $34,000.
we have a motion to reduce cemetery expenses, line 244, from $46,000 to $34,000. We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Joel?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Darren?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
I would entertain a motion from the selectmen for the same thing.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Julie?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And yes.
With that change, we now, we'll make that adjustment to the town charges, and it looks like we will end up having a surplus of $18, well, yes, a surplus of $18.
That's what I'll spend.
We could easily put that somewhere else.
Let's buy pizza.
And
When we went through the budgeting process, if you recall, when I met before the advisory board, there were some cuts made to the treasurer's expense account, which I reminded you that we needed to provide for payment of Harper's payroll, for outside payroll service.
We didn't make any, we end up level funding the same as the Board of Selectmen on all of them.
You ended up level funding my expense account?
may I?
Yep.
Last year, he didn't have Harper's to pay,
Yep.
to have to pay. So level funded to last year isn't gonna make it for
Correct.
Harper's.
Well, one of the nice things that we have is we have a reserve fund so that if we do get in trouble, we have that available.
It's not an emergency, I'm telling you, we can foretell, I can tell you how much it's gonna cost.
Much?
Approximately $10,000.
Oh,
I think that's an adjustment that can be made at a special town meeting.
I have to pay them before the fall,
All 10,000?
though. No,
Okay, we pay by the month, right?
yes,
Right,
by the week.
right. So by the time we have a special town meeting in the fall, which I anticipate we'll have, you should have an accurate reading of how much you will need to make up for the rest of the year.
we're probably not gonna get
I'll
to
go.
that. I'd rather
That's, I
spend
think
the
that's,
time with
that's.
it.
Works for me.
better.
I can do them Monday
As
night.
long as it doesn't get over the summer. I
I
only mention it now
I
so
know
it won't
you
get
can't.
over.
What I would like to do now is
You know,
go to
maybe.
the articles where you actually have less than we provided for. Like
Thank you.
the two came in at a lesser number, so we can change those.
Oh, well, we could leave that way if you wish. I mean, this is something that you said it was okay, it can be different, but we can end up just saying that we're gonna use the advisory board's number at the thing, that way.
All right, are there any other major differences?
No, there is really none, per se. I mean, there's only 31,000 difference.
Right.
And most of that was because of the difference in the,
Those who are.
right. And not the articles, but in the fact that their budgets, when they ended up coming in, they were lower, and that's what we used. And I mean, you didn't have privy to that
That's
because
right.
you had not sat with the board, so I mean, that's,
That's right.
and that, I think we all recognize that, per se, that there should be some level, but what we, in supporting this particular budget per se, as we have the expenditures, what you have said is that we have come to an agreement to use these numbers, I think.
Okay, so what we need to do, we'll take a vote of the Board of Selectmen to endorse the advisory board's budget numbers.
Minus the 12,000.
minus the 12,000.
Right, and we will make, I will make that adjustment to the green
And
sheet.
send it to Jeff.
Yes, yes.
So I would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that the Board of Selectmen endorse the advisory board budget as amended tonight.
Second.
Any other discussion about that? Okay, Ken?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And yes. The only thing that I would ask is that, you know, I understand that, you know, you have grounds for wanting to do it, and it all went very well. I mean, we didn't find out until the very end of the season that we weren't going to do it like we always have been doing it. So next year, I would like if we could be an active part.
Right, well, my intention this coming year is, and I look for the Board of Selectmen to end up pushing this, is to make sure all departments have their budgets in by December. The advisory board will start at the first of the year, having our hearings with individual departments, and at that particular time, I don't care how long it takes on a budget, at this 11th hour, we have to take and end up moving the process along. I'm hoping to allow more time for both boards to end up reviewing the budgets and come to a conclusion here, and so that we can end up going as a joint board into the annual town meeting. Even though, you know, in a sense of cooperation, I understand what the bylaw says, but I truly believe that we need to take and end up understanding our both responsibilities and cooperation and get to a common goal here.
Absolutely. However, you know, having said that, at times there are going to be differences, and we can't promise that we're always going to go in with the same number. If there is a difference that the select board votes on, then we have to maintain that.
Right,
So
that's correct.
We'll discuss ours.
as well as yours, exactly.
I think this has been it's been a good process this evening. I'd like to take and thank the members of the Board of Selectmen. I know you were here the other night, and you did make the commitment to come here. Yes, yes.
I'd like to ask, since we have both boards here, if, as a department head, that you make a request to all departments if they could foresee some funding that they're not going to use in this fiscal year, and that an effort be made to transfer that into stabilization prior to the end of the fiscal year. Because then you're going to put some money into stabilization instead of having it float around for 14 months to fund free cash. In my department, I can say I maybe have about 5,000, possibly a little bit more, that I'm not going to spend because we've done some changes. And it's an easy thing to do at special town meeting. And my second comment, and let you discuss that, is there a plan B if what happened at Phillipston town meeting last night happens at Templeton town meeting?
Let me address that, please.
Go ahead.
There's no way it can happen. We don't have anything in our stabilization.
And we have no free cash.
Our free cash has not been certified yet, so we have nothing to provide.
18 months.
What that happened yesterday in Phillipston is, instead of an override, they chose to take and fund what we would have considered as override from their free cash. They had the opportunity and the luxury of having free cash.
Okay,
I know they have some.
I just wanted to throw that out there, so we're not surprised. So the stabilization, though, is something that can be fairly simply done. Jeff can send out an email, we can say we have X amount, and then you let us know how that happens, and you just wrote it at a special.
To me, that, as far as the freeze, that would be up to the Board of Selectmen.
That's why I'm throwing it out there.
I have talked to a couple of the selectmen that at some point we really need to do that.
We actually talked about that, and we're going to be bringing it up at Monday night's meeting.
But one of the things that I end up saying is, even if you have a freeze, that money does not go into stabilization. It freezes and it goes into next year's free.
I'm not saying it's a freeze. I'm saying it's a transfer of available funds in this fiscal year at a special town meeting in this fiscal year into your stabilization account. Every town I've worked for does that. It's just money that you've identified that you're not going to spend. So I'm not freezing my budget. I've done some internal changes through bid process, changing some expenses. I'm not going to spend that money. So you want to float it around for 14 months, that's your choice. Here's an opportunity to put some into stabilization. When you have fall town meeting, there's something there.
There's the money for Dan.
Yes, Stu.
No, go ahead, Virginia, I got a question about something else.
Well,
Finish
if
the
you
stabilization.
didn't have a question, Bud had his
Bud
hand
was
up.
next.
Yeah, do you have a number on
Thank you.
when it's certified, what the free cash will be?
We don't have that number.
No, we don't have that number yet.
Not even a project?
No.
Nobody has a number?
Okay.
No,
So-
there's a final,
so-
no, because it's not dependent on anything we file, it's dependent on what they agree to.
So,
You could
so,
say 200 and they could come back and say it's 20.
so,
Plus,
he can put, money can be, that's not used, can go directly into stabilization, is that correct?
With a vote of both the advisory board and the selectmen, yes, that can happen. We can exchange from one account to another during the last month and the first 15 days of the month.
Right, so- and that's limited to $5,000.
And also to a percentage of the
Right,
budget.
percentage of the budget,
Yeah.
we'd have to look at that
That's
number. And by the way, we do have sheets like that on the website for that, and that happens in the last 30 days of the month during June and the first 15 days in July. That's separate from the money that would be requested from the Emergency Reserve Fund, which can be done throughout the year. Yes, Dan?
3 comments.
Yes.
1, the advisory board and select board cannot transfer funds into the stabilization fund without vote from town meeting. You can't do it. 2, you can change between an expense account and a salary account within the last 6 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is, with an agreement between you 2 boards. Between an expense account and a salary account.
I know that, yes.
Of a
Thank you, I didn't
specific,
realize that.
of a specific department. You can't take salary from one department and put it in an expense of another department.
That's correct.
That's
It's
the
gonna be internal to the department.
Actually, I have 2 more. 3 would be, if you do decide to transfer money into the stabilization fund, sounds like a good idea. Be careful that we have only this opportunity, the town meeting that's coming up, the special town meeting within the town meeting, to do that. And if the school budget vote comes after that, then they can wipe whatever they want out of the stabilization fund, if they choose to do so, like they did in Chelsea. I'm not saying that's gonna happen, I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying beware that what we're doing might not be what you end up wanting to have done.
Basically, we would be zeroing out again and be in a tough shape again.
So just beware of that. So it seems like a good idea, but just beware of it.
Yep.
Final comment.
Yes.
Next year, when we go through this process, I would encourage you to try to use whatever form you want to do it. I can offer one if you want, but whatever form you want to use, that shows the details of your summary sheet, how those numbers got to be. So that when people have questions, they can go back to the details and say, I have a question about that specific detail. Then it's not a matter of guessing whose number is correct.
Yeah.
You can say, I got this number from these sources, and if you want to argue about the sources, well, that's okay.
Yeah,
But,
I agree with you there.
okay, thank you.
And to some extent, the one that we have, Dan, does some of that. The select board's one did not have. I don't have them all, but I was aiming at that per se.
Based on my observation tonight, it was insufficient, just saying.
Okay.
Let's move on. I mean, we just.
Sue.
To just kind of go on a point Dan just brought up with the school budget article. If it's not presented, there's 3 articles, if I understand correctly. There's for the 4.4 million, the 691, and then for the school debt. If the 691 is presented as not an override on town meeting floor, if a motion is made for a lump sum amount and it ends up passing,
Where do we come up with it?
Right now, does it say override?
Yes, it does.
That's a substantial change in the article. You can't do that. You can make form changes, but you can't make substance changes.
so.
They did in Phillips, they changed it from, they
Then
changed
it's
it from
probably
2.5.
gonna get caught by the Attorney General because you're
Well,
not supposed to do it.
I mean, I want to make aware, to me, if it's voted again as an override and then goes back out to special, to a special election and all that stuff, but to make aware of, if it is presented and it passes not as an override, where will that $191,000 come from out of the town budget?
We will end up having to go back to the town budget and make substantial cuts.
Substantial?
Substantial, you're talking about cutting out half of the police department, half of the fire department, and probably a
We would end up
good
having to
portion
have a
of the
special
highway
meeting and then
department.
go back.
So at that point.
I'm not mandated by
town budget
Mass
is
General
out
law.
of
My ass is covered, I can write up a cherry sheet.
You don't have to
Right?
pay it.
Your assistant isn't.
You don't have to pay it.
Yeah.
Hal.
Herb Ryan, Chairman of the Council of Aging. We had our meeting today, and Eileen Fox announced that she's leaving us and accepting a job with the Gardner Senior Center. And we're without, as of May 24th, will be the last day. So it's up to us to try and find someone to replace her. But the town only gives $13,259, and the Mark one is it doubles that, so she's at $34,518.
Right.
Other towns that supply the whole amount of money, anywhere from $48,000 to $68,000. Her fee in Gardner will be $68,000 that she'll get. To try and find someone at this small amount of money is going to be very difficult. And we'll probably get someone, but not maybe really qualified. And that means, I suppose you come before the town meeting, if you want to get a little increase like 4,000 and Mark matches that and put it up to 42.5 or something like that, which would be a little more with
I
the other
understand what
towns.
you say, however, we've got people we cut out completely last year.
$5,300 and
We're not gonna start giving
$5,000 a
raises
year.
to anyone else while we've got people's hours and salaries cut.
I think,
Go ahead.
yeah, I agree with that, but unfortunately, I lost $5,300 in my salaries for the year. Everything still goes up. I mean, the tax, all of us got 5 hours, a week cut. That adds up to all of us, and it's a shame to say, but I think we're all in the same boat.
Jeff?
A fact out of context, Virginia, a week ago you asked me to calculate an approximation for what would it take to restore last year's cuts for those people that took cuts. Just restore them to their fiscal 11 pay levels, or would it be fiscal 12 pay level? Well, fiscal 11 pay
Well,
levels.
it would be '09 because that's when the last.
And this is rough, but it's a very close approximation. $80,000 to restore Sue and Luann and Kate and everybody who took
And
those
Carol
cuts.
Harris
About
and Carol
$80,000 is the number, just so you have an idea.
Good.
Not doing a
Yeah.
budget, say special.
Last night, I went to the Phillipston town meeting. They did not present the last figure as an override because they didn't use it that way. They took the money out of their stabilization,
Right, free cash.
their free cash. They didn't have to say, this is going to be an override, because it wasn't. It wasn't a tax increase for them. It will behoove you guys to get your ducks in order and stand up and explain what cuts would happen if the school does this, because the school will get up there and give you a list this long of all the horrible things that are gonna happen. So the town needs to explain to people that don't come to a meeting all the time where we are as a town. Because I think the normal person that maybe is gonna show up to help the school doesn't have a clear picture of where we are. And I know where we are, because I'm here. But you have to defend yourself, otherwise you're gonna get squashed like a bug.
I understand what you say. It's a little bit different because we don't have any place for them to just jump on and say, you've got that in your
Well, you have to-
stabilization fund.
yeah.
We don't have
Well,
it.
you have to stand there and tell them about the fire department and
Right.
the police department and.
But just understand this too, and this is only this is not the Board of Selectmen's idea, this is my idea. The school is also hurting. It is. I've been through upside down and backwards in the budget. There is not a lot of
That's a
extra in
whole
the
other
budget.
issue.
And they are gonna hurt even worse if we fail to give them or somehow support what they need, such as in the override. Kids are already leaving. I know several kids who already bailed out.
Yeah.
School choice is a big part of their budget. It's where they get a lot of their money.
But also, you need to tell people that this is what the town has, and this is what will happen, because you have to be realistic.
I agree.
It's not a lie, you're not making stories up.
At this point, I'd like to take it, end up having a motion to
We'll just do
hold.
that.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
just one comment too, and this was going back to my earlier point. I think that what a lot of people figured was not going to happen with the state giving a 1/12 budget, which again, the state gives it's 1/12 of the year, they give it 1 month at a time. That will be the result, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because the state will come in, they'll look at the school's budget, they'll look at the town's budget, and they'll maybe say, oh, the school, you're charging 3 times what you should for this or that. The state will come in and do that. And it will do that if the budget that's given is not the amount that the school requested, which is fine. I think that a lot of parties may, but I think that's also important for people to know, that a lot of people think that this might be good, right? That if the state does come in and act as a mediator, not as mediator, but between the, can look at both budgets, any issues that there are, the state can address one way or another. It's not necessarily a bad thing for the state to come in and say this, or that,
It's actually a good thing because they look at them for several years afterwards too.
Well,
I'd like a motion from the advisory board for adjournment.
Just like a motion that we adjourn.
A motion and a second.
I'd like a motion and a second from the select board, please.
Okay, for the advisory board.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
For the advisory board, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So be.
I'd like a motion from the select board, please, to adjourn.
motion made.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Virginia, this is-